YouTube, how we doing? Today we're going to be going over 10 targets in the trade market for NFL teams, giving you some options on where they could go, where I think would be good fits for them. Some surprising, some not. I'm not going over every one of them. There's a lot of them this offseason, a lot of quarterbacks especially, so I only put 2 on here. And we'll talk about it when we get to it. But if you are new to the channel, as you see here, please be sure to go follow me out on Twitter, Instagram, and leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that jazz. And of course, if you want to stay up to date with my big board, go ahead to that top of the description and click that as well. We're going to be starting off here with DK Metcalf. Now, I think it'll be about 2 firsts for him, or a high first and maybe another second. So if the Jets want to pay for maybe pick 10, if that's not enough, maybe pick 10 and next year's second round pick. I think that would get the job done. But yeah, Jets, I think, are the best option for them alongside the Ravens. The Ravens are kind of sneaky. DK's on a cheap deal. Obviously, I think he'll get an extension wherever he goes. But this is a perfect receiver for that offense. A big-bodied receiver who plays physical, can play deep. You have your speedy guy in Hollywood, and then Bateman, who really can do it all with the route running and everything. So I'm a big fan of them. And the Jets obviously just need that big receiver on the outside, so Corey Davis and Moore can have more in the offense as well. Some good options. I think Kansas City would be good. I'm not sure if they'd send him to Kansas City just because of the competitive part of it, but yeah, getting a solid receiver on a cheap deal for the moment would be awesome for them. Philadelphia, we all know them and the Raiders both need that number 1 receiver. At least Philly has, DeVante Smith, who looks like he could be a number 1 receiver, but they still need another one to play with him. Some sneaky ones, the Falcons. Yeah, the Falcons only have Frank Darby and Ridley on the roster right now at receiver signed. Obviously, I think they're going to re-sign some guys, but they don't have too much money. So if you're able to make a trade for DK Metcalf, they have a top 10 pick. If they can trade that pick straight up for DK Metcalf, I think you do it, because this is a guy who could really elevate that team. They're a team that definitely wants to keep competing with Matt Ryan. I think that it would be kind of fun to see a guy like DK Metcalf join that offense. Maybe it makes Ridley want to stay. Then you have Ridley, DK, probably Frank Darby at the 3 just because the money wouldn't be too much. But yeah, that's a pretty solid duo right there with him and Ridley. Or you can move on from the Ridley contract and regain some assets elsewhere. The Chargers, we all know they need some more receiver help. Even if Mike Williams comes back, I think DK Metcalf would be awesome. The Vikings, beyond Justin Jefferson and Thielen, it's kind of shaky. I like Smith-Marset, I like Osborne, but they're not too solid. Osborne showed flashes some games. Thielen's not getting any younger, and his contract's not getting any smaller. So Metcalf would definitely be an interesting duo with him and Justin Jefferson for the future. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they have a lot of cap space, and how much fun would it be to see DK Metcalf and Mike Evans as a duo? I mean, that would just be amazing. Going on to our next player, that is going to be Gardner Minshew. The Eagles' backup quarterback right now, I think, could definitely be on the move for a team that wants a cheap starting caliber player or a bridge quarterback. But Gardner, I think, for teams like the Saints, where they don't really have any money to spend, getting a cheap quarterback like Gardner to be your starter, I think you can see if he can become that franchise quarterback that he looked like he possibly could in Jacksonville. But he's looked very good in his time in Philly as well. So I think that a team should take a risk on him to be a starter. The Steelers as well, I think, are a good team. Another team where, the money isn't as high as you'd want it to be, but they have a lot of needs, especially on the offensive line. And I'd rather them spend the money there instead of going for a Carson Wentz or a Garoppolo in a trade. I think that getting a young quarterback like Minshew can start and lead this offense, who, when they have weapons already, Claypool, Deontay, Najee, they have a good offense. Frymuth as well. They have some good weapons, so I think that's good for them. Some other good teams, I think Carolina, him and Darnold can battle it out. The Colts, if you want to move on from Wentz, maybe Minshew is that next guy. I mean, you have a solid run game, so really you're going to be pounding the rock more, but I think Minshew can get the pass game down as well. And the Browns, mostly to be a backup to Baker Mayfield, and then if Baker is struggling again, you can play Gardner Minshew, but I just think he fits the scheme a lot better, and then, maybe he's the successor to Baker if they don't decide to extend him. Some sneaky options, Minnesota, what are they going to do with Kirk Cousins? Do they believe in Kellen Mond? It's going to be interesting to see what O'Connell thinks of that roster. The Titans, another one where, if they decide to move on from Tannehill, which everything is pointing towards they will not, Minshew would be a good one there, or to just get him to be that backup for Tannehill. They run pretty similar offense. Cowboys is specifically for him to be the backup, because if Dak goes out, and he's missed some time, obviously, in these past 2 years, I think Minshew would be able to step in and be, I think he's one of the best backup quarterbacks in football, honestly. So I think he would be perfect for Dallas. And then in Washington, I think him, Heineke, anyone else, I think they all fight out for that starting job and possibly rotate in and out. So Gardner is definitely a name that I think should be on a lot more radars. And it should only cost you a day 3 pick or a depth player that the Eagles could use, maybe a corner or a linebacker or something to that effect. Then we got the big man, Laramie Tunsil. I think it's going to be a late day 2 pick and a depth. The contract's really big, and he is one of the best tackles, but the contract's huge, and he's not. I don't know. It could be more. It could be more if a team is really trying to pay up. But I think anytime, it doesn't have to be late. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, but a day 2 pick, some good solid depth. Houston just needs to get off of that contract and get younger assets, keep the cap space for young players. I think that'd be awesome, but it's also fairly reasonable to say that this price might not be high enough. And Houston's saying, look, we're not rebuilding. We have a quarterback in Davis Mills. We have Cooks and Collins at receiver. We have a good offensive line. Why would we get rid of our best offensive lineman when we need someone to protect? So there's a bunch of ways it can go. But if he is on the move, I think the Bengals, I think you give him the first. You pay any price to get Laramie Tunsil to protect Joe Burrow. Same with Jacksonville. If you can pay up for Laramie Tunsil and secure him, I think that'd be awesome, because now you have 2 of the youngest and the former number 1 overall picks playing with a superstar left tackle protecting them. I think that's awesome. Some good spots. The Chargers, Rashawn Slater can play right tackle well, so you get Laramie Tunsil to block. You now have the best tandem at tackle in football. Then you go to Washington. The Commanders could definitely use him. There's been a hole there since Trent Williams has left, although Leno has done pretty well, and the line hasn't been horrible. Tunsil is no doubt an upgrade for whatever quarterback is going to be leading the Commanders. And you go over to Carolina, same thing. Carolina has horrible offensive line play. Getting a guy like Tunsil could really turn that around. And then some sneaky ones. The Patriots, they have a decent offensive line, but I think a guy like Laramie Tunsil could really do a lot for them, especially with Trent Brown probably hitting free agency. The Dolphins need all the offensive line help they can, so a reunion with Tunsil and the Dolphins would be cool to see. I just don't know if they'll be able to pull that off. And then the Steelers, as we talked about previously with Gardner Minshew, they need offensive line help. This is a move where if you're able to get Laramie Tunsil, you might as well get a young guy in Gardner Minshew that's cheaper to use and has some more upside than the guys currently on the roster. So Tunsil, yeah, very intriguing one. He can go for as high as a first rounder. He can go for some players, or he could just be somebody that's trying to get moved because of the cap hit as Houston just tries to rebuild. It really just depends on what Houston sees in their team. One of my favorite players on this list, Kareem Hunt. I think he's going to be a late day 2, early day 3 pick, because he is still one of the better running backs in the NFL when he's healthy, but he's locked in that running duo of him and Chubb. And although it's fantastic and it works very well, I think it's time to move and go to a team where he can be a lead option. So Carolina and the Jets I have as the best. The reason why I have Carolina is I just don't know if McCaffrey's going to be there. So if McCaffrey's moved on, I think Kareem Hunt can fill what McCaffrey did, not to the fullest extent, but very similarly. But also, if McCaffrey stays, I think if you're going to be in a system where you're battling it out with, or you're in a duo with a shared backfield, obviously, I think Kareem Hunt and McCaffrey would be an awesome duo to see. And I really think if McCaffrey is injured and stuff, I think Kareem Hunt does fill that role very well. The Jets, I really like the Jets. This is one of my favorite things. Kareem Hunt's about $6-7 million on the cap, and that's not cheap necessarily, but it's not expensive for as talented of a running back as he is. So you get him there to lead the backfield with Michael Carter behind him, and then after a year, if Michael Carter is looking as great as he is, that third-round pick, fourth-round pick that you sent for Kareem Hunt, it's okay. We got a good season out of Kareem Hunt. He helped Michael Carter develop. Now Michael Carter can be that star. Or you get it, and they work so well together, you create a tandem, and that is awesome as well. I like the Rams a lot as well. They're not a team that shies away from paying up with future assets to win a championship now. And although Akers showed flashes, and Henderson and Michelle, they've all shown flashes. They haven't been consistent. That's why they're all rotating in and out, and they've all had some flaws. So getting a guy like Kareem Hunt to lead the backfield, I think that's awesome. You might even be able to flip Darrell Henderson or Cam Akers for Kareem Hunt in some sort of package or some sort of deal. The Cardinals, I think this Kareem Hunt fits everything that you had James Conner do, except he's better in the pass game, in my opinion. So that would be perfect for them. Dolphins, I had them getting him last time before he got his extension with Cleveland. What worries me about them is the offensive line. How much is it going to help him in his career? But they use Myles Gaskin in a certain way. I think Kareem Hunt would do that just at a higher level. Then you go over to the sneaky ones. I think Seattle, what's the deal with Chris Carson? We don't really know. Rashad Penny's a free agent. Are they going to bring him back? He looked pretty good this year. The Falcons, Cordero's a free agent. Are they going to bring him back, or do they want to, trade for a guy like Kareem Hunt? I think either one is going to be a good option. The Broncos, if they let Melvin Gordon go, which all signs are pointing towards they won't, but Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, that was a nasty duo. They both played so well when they were on the field, and it worked just perfectly. If I'm the Broncos, I'm not looking to keep only one of the running backs. I'm looking to bring them both back. I'm looking to have Javonte share that backfield. Nothing against Javonte, but I just think the tandem was working so well. I think that's what you're going to get the most of. Obviously, this isn't fantasy, so in the real world, I think a tandem with Javonte and a guy like Kareem Hunt or Melvin Gordon, I think that's just too good to pass up on, and it worked so well last year. And this team is really just a quarterback away, I feel like, from really competing. And then the Lions have DeAndre Swift, but adding Kareem Hunt, replacing Jamal Williams with him, I think would be awesome. Swift has dealt with some injuries, and I think, again, 1-year deal, I think Kareem Hunt could do a lot for this team. Then we're going over to N'Keal Harry, a guy who was a very highly touted first-round pick and just has not, he got injured his first 2 years, and he just hasn't been able to regain his position on the depth chart, but the guy still has a lot of raw talent, and I think he just needs a change of scenery to hopefully unlock that. He's going into a contract year, so if he can go prove it somewhere, I think that'd be awesome. So the best spot I have for him is Atlanta. Again, we talked about it earlier. They don't have many receivers on their roster right now, so adding him to be, the third receiver on the team, fourth receiver on the team, I think that would do a lot for him. Pair him with his former teammate in Frank Darby. I think that would be really good for N'Keal. Then you go over to Arizona, where he played his college ball. The Cardinals need some help on that offensive line, or not offensive line, that receiving core, because everyone's pretty much gone. Kirk is going to be a free agent. AJ Green's a free agent. I'm pretty sure everyone except for Isabella, DeAndre Hopkins, and Rondale Moore are free agents. So getting a guy like N'Keal Harry, possibly being that number 2, you prefer him not to be. But I think you might be able to get the most out of him in air raid offense. Then you go to the Packers. We all know they need receiver help. Tennessee, same thing. They need receiver depth. Jacksonville, they need receiver help, and they're looking for young talent that they can grow. So I think N'Keal Harry would be awesome for that. And then the 49ers, again, just another team that is top-heavy at receiver but really lacks that depth behind Ayuk and Debo. So unless they get a guy like Devontae Adams or something, I think N'Keal Harry, even if they got a guy like Devontae Adams, I think N'Keal Harry would be a solid, wide receiver 4 on that team, possibly wide receiver 3. And then sneaky ones, Panthers, similar to the other teams, they just lack depth. They have solid, top-heavy Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, but they could use some more receivers there, no pun intended. Steelers, they're losing out James Washington, probably Juju. Get another young guy to, in this rebuilt offense, whatever it may look like. Seattle, another team that just could use more depth and possibly get the most out of a guy like N'Keal Harry, being a physical receiver similar to DK Metcalf, except not as tall, not as fast. And then you go to the Saints. Yeah, the Saints just need young and cheap talent to, to get on the field. In reality, they only have Michael Thomas and Marquez Callaway, I think, are the only 2 receivers left this offseason. So, yeah, look for any of those teams to make a move for N'Keal. He wouldn't cost much, and the upside is definitely there. And after 1 year, if he's not working out, you're not locked into him. So, not a bad deal for a lot of teams. All right, we're going into Deshaun Watson here. This is going to be the last quarterback we talk about, I'm pretty sure. And look at this list of quarterbacks and places they can go. It's going to apply to most of the quarterbacks, so that's really how it is. But for Deshaun, it's a little special. I think the Steelers is the best spot for him. If they can make a move for Deshaun Watson, I think that would be perfect. Same with Washington. These are both teams that have offenses set in place. Washington, a little bit more of an offense set in place with that offensive line and such. But go somewhere where Deshaun Watson can, reap the benefits of a solid offense. Because once he lost Hopkins, he lost hope, is really what it is. Some good spots, I think that the Eagles are still in the conversation. Whether that's a Jalen Hurts swap with some picks or you keep Jalen Hurts, there's a bunch of different ways it can go. But the Eagles would definitely be fun to see him in. The Vikings, I've heard a lot about, them trading for him, maybe for Kirk Cousins or something else. I think it'd be awesome seeing him throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. The line is getting a lot better. I think it'd be a fun team. I think he would really look good in the Vikings jersey as well. Tampa Bay, we all know, Brady's retired. What's this team going to look like? They have a lot of money. Marpet retired. So if they're able to retain their offensive line and get a guy like Deshaun Watson in a trade, I think that'd be awesome. Some sneaky ones, the Bears. I think the Bears, even though they traded up for Fields, I think that, flipping Fields for Deshaun Watson and some other assets, I think would be the right move for Chicago, because Watson is everything you want Fields to become, and you hope that, Justin Fields, you hope his ceiling is Deshaun Watson, but instead of that, you might as well get the real thing. Carolina, we've been linked to this for a couple times. It's still a possibility. The Jets, another one where, similar to the Justin Fields thing, although Zach Wilson, I really do believe in the upside of him, you could flip Zach Wilson and, a pick or two, maybe both the second round picks, might not even have to be the first. I don't know. There's a bunch of things you could do, but just upgrading, again, Zach Wilson, you hope that his ceiling is Deshaun Watson. You might as well get the real thing. And then the Lions I threw in here because I'm not one that thinks they need a quarterback. But if you do add a quarterback like Deshaun Watson to this team and you spend the money and the draft capital wisely, this is a team that, if with Deshaun Watson and a good offseason, could definitely be right back into the playoffs, and it would make the Matt Stafford for Jared Goff trade look a lot better. Now going on to Calvin Ridley, we talked about some guys going to his team. Now we're talking about him leaving his. We want him back to how he's looking in this picture, and that's smiling. But for right now, a guy that quit on his team halfway through due to his mental health issues, and we're hoping that he resolves those because those are serious issues. He's not going to cost more than a day 2, day 3 pick, because we forget how old he came into the league. Yes, his rookie deal just ended, he got extended, but the guy is 27 years old. No one knows where he's at in shape-wise. No one's even really talked to him. He's a day 2, day 3 pick right now. So you could capitalize on the upside of Calvin Ridley. A team like Jacksonville, you're a team that's looking to compete next year because you have these young talents. You have a brand new coaching staff you actually believe in, and you have a lot of assets and a lot of money. So getting a guy like Ridley to be that number one target for Trevor Lawrence, awesome. Patriots, they always seem to revive careers. I think that would be great for Ridley to go to, especially a guy like Matt Ryan. Going from Matt Ryan to Mac Jones is a pretty similar comparison to me. The Eagles, yeah, we've seen the Eagles linked to Ridley a ton. He could be that number 2 with DeVonta Smith, and it just be one of the nastiest route runners in the league. Same with him going to the Chargers if he went with Keenan Allen. The Lions, he would be a wide receiver 1, but again, similar to that last slide where we're talking about Deshaun Watson. I mean, this is a team that if they have a good offseason if they put their money in the right ways, this is a team that has one of the best offensive lines in football. They just need some weapons to go along with it. They need their team to stay healthy, but you imagine they're going to get an edge rusher at pick 2. Their offensive line's already great, so you just have to build around that. Once you have the offensive line figured out and the pass rush figured out, which they should after this offseason, the rest of it's just filling in the blanks, and I think that they can do that. Some sneaky ones, the Raiders. Yeah, the Raiders could definitely use a receiver of Calvin Ridley's caliber. The Cardinals, we saw what happened when D-Hop was out. So going from D-Hop to Ridley, if D-Hop were to go injured again, I think that's amazing. And then same thing with the 49ers. You have Ayuk, you have Debo. Why not add a guy like Ridley, especially while those two are on their rookie deals? I think that'd be awesome. Then we go over to James Bradberry of the Giants. Now, I don't know if he's actually going to be moved because it seems like Joe Shane he's kind of playing the game very well. At points, he's saying, look, we're not blowing up this roster. And at other times, he's saying, there's no one untouchable on the team. Everyone I'm going to listen. Every phone call that comes in, I'm going to listen to, which I agree you should. But we're going here with James Bradberry. It's probably going to be a day 2 pick or just some low cap hit players. He's making a lot of money. So if the Giants are able to free up as much of that money and also maybe get somebody back, I think that'd be awesome. But James Bradberry, I think the Bengals is the best fit. They have a lot of money, and they need a lockdown corner like Bradberry to lead the secondary, so Mike Hilton and company can also play up to standard. The Broncos, another team where Surtain has been awesome for them, but getting Bradberry to be that number 1 with Surtain being the 2, and, you still got Justin Simmons over the top, and, oh, man, this would be a great secondary. They have a good amount of money as well. The New York Jets, trading them to the next locker room over. They definitely need corner. They have a lot of money, and they have a lot of young corners that definitely could learn a lot from James Bradberry, even safety play, Ashton Davis and such. I think a guy like Bradberry could really lead that team in the secondary, just like Mosley's doing for the linebackers in the front 7. The Raiders, the Raiders are another team where they have some solid, Trayvon Mullen, Nate Hobbs, but Bradberry I think can do what you were trying to get out of Casey Hayward. I think he can do it. Bradberry is one of the best corners in the league. I think top 10. I think that's fair to say, top 10, top 15 at the worst. So getting a guy like that for a team that was a playoff contender, I think would be awesome. Same with the Patriots. You lost out on Gilmore. You're going to probably lose out on J.C. Jackson. Replacing them with Bradbury, I think, would fill the role right back into where it was, because he really can do a lot for this team. And then going to the sneaky side, yeah, Jacksonville Jaguars are definitely one that they're almost in every slide because they have a lot of money and they have all the tools to be a solid team next year, just like the Lions if they build it right, because their offensive line is pretty solid. If they can bring Norwell back, they bring Cam Robinson back, or they use that draft capital to take a lineman, there's a lot that can happen. But getting a guy like Bradbury to pair with Griffin, man, that would be pretty scary, huh? The Steelers, yeah, losing Joe Hayden in the secondary's kind of been poor. As of late, Minkah Fitzpatrick's really been that only shining star for these past couple years. So Mike Hilton was pretty good until he went to the Bengals. But yeah, Bradbury would instantly come in and be that corner one and help lock down that secondary while Cam Hayward and Tuitt and Watt are all getting to the quarterback as well. And then the Cardinals. The Cardinals need quarterback play, very much so, and it showed how bad it was. They're going out there with Marco Wilson and company. Getting a guy like Bradbury to play alongside Byron Murphy, that instantly helps out a bunch. And the Cardinals are going to have a good amount of money due to all the free agents they have. So there's a lot of ways to free up as well. Jordan Phillips' contract, Justin Pugh maybe. There's a lot of ways to go. So Bradbury would definitely be a hot commodity if he does end up on the trade block. Although the contract's high, the guy is a fringe top 10 corner. Last year, his first year with the Giants is the year I'm talking about. His first year with the Giants, he was a top 5 corner. He was one of the best corners in football. Now we're going to go over to Clelin Ferrell, a guy who was drafted way too high in the draft and now is, he's had some games where he's not even playing. So let's get him to a team where they could use some help off the edge or in the defensive end department and don't have to pay too much for him, get him a fresh start. I think the Giants and the Cowboys are both very solid spots for this. Clelin Ferrell can hop in there and either play off the edge or play off at the defensive end, just be a good depth piece and possibly see if he can get a new home there with the Giants, as we saw a revival from Leonard Williams in New York. The Cowboys just need defensive line play, and obviously Clelin Ferrell is going to be cheaper than a lot of the people that they would, replacing Randy Gregory with Ferrell, seeing what you can get out of him, I think would be awesome with Dan Quinn. The Cowboys are probably the best option for him. The Cardinals, if they let Chandler Jones go, or even if they don't, I think just some extra defensive end play, some defensive line play would be awesome. The Jets, young team that don't have to cost too much, just to get some more defensive line depth, edge depth. And same thing with Baltimore. A lot of their guys are getting older and older. Get a young guy with some potential, see what you can get out of him. Jacksonville, another team where, again, they're on this slide. They're on every single one. They're just, they're pretty much in every conversation. The Bills have been looking for defensive line depth and in the interior and the outside. Getting a guy like Ferrell for a cheap deal, maybe he can have a revival. Same thing with Kansas City. Both teams, very winning culture. I think he could learn a lot and do a lot for those teams. Now we go over to the last player of the video, and that is going to be DeVante Parker. I think an early day 3 pick or maybe a wide receiver swap are going to be the best ways to do it, because Parker has been on and off in Miami. He's had games that he looks amazing, and then he has games that he doesn't look great at all, and he has a lot of games where he does not play at all because of his injuries. So I think the contract, although it looked worth it at the time, he's been one of the most inconsistent receivers in his career, honestly. He's had seasons where he's looked like a bust. He's had seasons where he looked like he was the perfect pick. So I think now is a good time while you're getting younger. Parker's not getting any younger. He's up there in his late 20s. You send him out, you get some help, and you use that money that you're going to save from him, or to either get another receiver in the trade, or spend some draft picks on receiver, which I think they're going to do anyway. The Cardinals, I think, are a great spot for him to go. Pair him alongside DeAndre Hopkins with Rondale Moore. The Bears are going to need a Robinson replacement, so a big-bodied receiver like Parker with Mooney would be awesome. The Browns, I like the Browns, whether or not they keep Jarvis. They could swap Jarvis and Parker and try that out, or they can send DeVante Parker there to pair with Jarvis, or they could cut Jarvis and replace him with DeVante Parker. There's a lot of different ways it can go. Chargers, they're going to be in every receiver spot because they just need some more receiver depth, some sure hands. And the Eagles, again, a big-bodied receiver with Devontae Smith being on the side as a deep threat, I think is awesome. The 49ers, we talked about them earlier. Yeah, they just could use another receiver beyond Ayuk and Samuel. I think a guy like Parker would really do a lot because he's a strong physical receiver. So you have Ayuk and Debo, who are really great route runners, can win the deep balls and such, but to really have that 50-50 winner in DeVante Parker, who's just going to be physical, I think would be awesome. The Commanders, yeah, Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, I think are going to be great. Maybe you're able to flip DeVante Parker to them for a Diami Brown and something, see if you can get something out of the young guys that they have in Washington. But Parker with Terry McLaurin and with Curtis Samuel, two on the smaller side, or at least they play that way, receivers with DeVante Parker, who's a physical receiver, like I said, big, I think would be awesome. And then DeVante Parker going to the Panthers, pairing him alongside Anderson and Moore. Very similar to the 49ers situation. They have everything except that physical receiver. Robbie Anderson does kind of play like that sometimes, but he's 180 pounds. DeVante Parker's a lot bigger than that, as you can see in the picture. So definitely something I would be interested in. But that's going to be it for this video. If you guys did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like down below. I tried to make as many, interesting ones, some sleepers and such, because it's very easy to say, oh, where's this person going to go? Where's this person going to go? A lot of those are just very common. I wanted to get some guys that aren't necessarily the most common while also throwing the interesting ones in there. But if you guys did enjoy the video, like I said, please be sure to leave a like. It truly helps me out more than you know, as well as subscribing. It really does help me grow on this website and YouTube. But if you did enjoy, leave that like. If you didn't, it's okay. Just refresh the page and let me know what you think about it the second time. And without further ado, that's going to be it for me. Be sure to click on one of these videos that are going to pop up on your screen in a second, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Look at the timing, better don't stop. Let it go by, no, not on my watch. I do this here on my own time. Time is money, so I did it on my own dime. Word to Bookie, yeah, that's homage, gave me game. Yeah, he taught me family ties, quick to back them. It's up off me, now I can't wait for you.